has now released its newest ink tank system. Now this is going to be for the Epson Expression XP420, 424, and 320. Now I'm going to set up right out of the box the Expression XP424. Now the system comes in the box. I'm going to take it out, show you everything in what you're going to get. Now these are refillable cartridges. The problem with refillable cartridges on these models is that they use a revolving serial number. So the chip is only good one time, and then you've got to throw the cartridge away and the chip. We have chips that we've tested you can go up to 15 times, but then you got to throw it away, and then you're stuck. With our new system and our COC Smart Chip, we have unlimited resets. No more filling cartridges. That's the old time. We're going to show you something really neat in this video with our new rocket bottle ink tank system. So I'm going to unbox it. I'll have it on the table here. Now, because I don't want to run the video too long, I'm going to stop and go do my unboxing. The printer out of the box, the XP424. I plugged it in. I haven't done anything else. Now, normally if you have the printer, you got to bring the cartridges over, the Epsons, take them out, and then unplug the printer. But on this video here, this is a brand new printer, so I'm not even going to put the Epsons in. They don't have very much ink in them anyway. Now when you get it, you want to go in, open up the box, the system. There's color photo instructions. Shows you all the parts and pieces. Takes you step by step. And then you can reference the video. What I want to point out, you always look at the instructions because sometimes we'll make little changes that won't be on the video. You get your parts kit. I'll take that out of the bag. And there's the system. It's bubble wrapped so you can take it out. Now, what I normally do is just lay out all the parts and pieces so I make sure I've got everything. It's possible we could miss something. That's just the way it is. It can be missed. So that's why I say lay it all out. Now on the label here, it says use within 7 days. Set it up. The reason why we want you to do that, it's all primed up. And should you have any problems, you'll know it within the 7 days. And you can contact us. So I don't want you to leave it in the box and 6 months later set it up. That's not a good plan. Take the Epson cartridge out. I don't care how much ink is in it. Put them in a plastic bag and save them just in case you would ever need them for testing purposes. So I'll take this out. Now we also seal it in plastic just in case a little bit of ink may dribble during shipping, because sometimes when we ship it, things like that can happen. So that's just a double protection. You want to take that off. And you want to lay it down. When you first get it, you always want to lay it down like that. That's going to take all the ink out of the isobaric chamber. So, okay, now I'll go take off all the plastic. The pieces out, and I'm checking to make sure I got everything. Now, get yourself a pair of rubber gloves, inexpensive rubber gloves, if you don't want to get any ink on your fingers, because that's possible. You might be able to get a little bit of ink on there. Especially when taking the plugs out, sometimes there'll be a little ink around the plug, and then you get it on your fingers. So you want to put on a set of rubber gloves. There I am, laying the bottles down when I first got it. Sometimes if you get a little air in the hose when we ship it, no problem. That's part of the instructions. Then it goes in and explains if you have Epson cartridges in there, to turn it on, let it come over, and then remove the Epson cartridges. But because this is a brand new printer, there's no cartridges in it. And there again, it says setting it up. And then I'm going to put the system right in without running the Epson cartridges. Sometimes we recommend you, especially if you have the Epson cartridge in, do a nozzle check, make sure everything is functioning before you put the ink tank system in. This is the T-bracket. Now also you get syringes. It says discard after use. These are veterinarian syringes. You don't have to discard them. They're used to fill up the ink tank if you need it. We give you the longer injectors so you can go right into the bottle of ink. Now you don't have to wash these out. Matter of fact, it's better if you don't wash them out because you damage the plunger. These are little priming tips we give you. On the back pages we explain what they're for. Sometimes you run the bottles out of ink and then you got to prime the system back up. Now this is the little safety catch. It's going to stick to the back of the ink tank system. You don't have to use it. And this is a little protective pad that protects the hose when you shut the lid. As we go along in the video, you'll see all that. Okay. Now it wants me to install the cartridges, so I'm going to get them ready to install. But before that, I'm going to come over here one more time. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to put my safety catch on. One side has an arrow. That goes on the ink tank and it faces down. The other one does not. So we're going to stick it. We're going to put it together. We're going to peel it and stick it to the ink tank. I just peeled the one side. Then when I get it ready to put it against the printer, I'm going to peel this side and then push the ink tank against the printer. It takes up to 48 hours for the adhesive to really hold. You're not to hang this off the wall. You're not to hang this off the tank off the side of the printer. The tank must go right next to the printer like this. Because if you hang it on the wall, it's going to fall and make a mess. That's not designed for that. It's just designed to be put right next to the printer like that so it can't be accidentally knocked over. Now I'll get the cartridges ready to put them in. But first, I'm going to put the bracket in. I'm going to peel and stick it. Now, there's a little ledge right here. Drops off. I want that bracket to go right on the bottom of that ledge. Right like that. Okay? That's right where I want it to go. I don't want it up here. I want it down there on that ledge. 1 inch from this edge. So measure over 1 inch. Go like that. And that should be your perfect place to put the hose bracket. Snap them down. Now they've got to click in. Sometimes you have to take it up and down a couple of times because in the bottom is a gasket and a seal, and the first couple of times you have to puncture that. So it's going to take 2 hands and you're going to push, but you got to be very careful over here. And then you want to hear it click in. That's the important thing. Then before I do anything else, after I click it in, I'm going to open up the little plugs on the air vents, the isobaric chamber. Right now I have them closed, but I'm going to be opening them up after I click the cartridge. Put the hose in that main hose bracket. I'm giving myself a little extra slack here because it's got to go back and forth. That's called hose travel. Then the hose is going to come out right out the side here. I'm going to put a little hose clip right there and that protective pad that's going to go right here. Then I'll be able to close the lid. Like I said, this install shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes, maybe 15. Okay, now I'll get ready to start it up. Let me put the rest of the pieces. Put the little protective pad there, put my bracket down. Then I'm going to be, before I close the lid though, I'm going to make this go up just a little bit so when I close the lid it doesn't pull real tight. I don't want that to happen. And so when that top comes down, it's just going to go down like that, and then I can fix the hose after that. It's to protect it. Because I still have way too much hose travel here. Normally, I would unplug the printer, bring it over, and let it go back and forth. But I'm going to do it this way just to show you can do it right out of the box. Now, if you have the the Epson cartridges, then you have to do it. Now I can peel and stick my bottles, and then I'll open up my air vents. We have it in the printed instructions. So now I peeled it, got it where I want it. I'm just going to push it against there and let it stay just like that. Now, if you don't want to get any ink on your fingers, you can use a piece of paper towel to take out the little plugs. And it makes it come out nice and easy. The only time those are plugged up is when you're refilling the bottles. Now see what happens? Under pressure, sometimes the ink wants to bubble out. So that's why I said you always want to use paper towel. Balancing and open those up temporarily to get the pressure up, and then you can wipe it all off if you have to. Sometimes you don't have to do this. Sometimes you will. It all depends. It depends where it's been shipped, you know, stuff like that. So then you can put the plugs back in if you want to. But for now, I've already done it. I've wiped off any little bit that came out. Okay, now let's go over here. I've got the plugs open. I've got everything in. It says press to start. So now it's going to check the cartridges. Now, if it's not in correctly, here's where you're going to get cannot recognize. And we explain that. This may take up to 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm going to let it go back and forth. So I'm watching my hose travel to make sure I have enough hose to make it over. If it's too tight, it'll shut you down. Well, let's go into initializing. So let's see what's going to happen now. This is right out of the box. No Epson cartridges have been put in it. Do not allow Epson to do updates, firmware updates. You never know when they're going to shut the aftermarket product down. They've done it in the past. I suspect they may do it in the future. Let's go into its charge. That's a good thing. But that's how simple it was. Now, once that's installed, it's just a matter of filling the bottles up. You watch them go down, fill them up. This is our Ultra Bright True Color ink. We also make an executive series which uses pigment ink, whichever you choose. But this is like a little economy system. You know, rather than running the store and spending $60 for a set of cartridges, you can buy the ink tank system, the rocket bottle system, and there's enough ink in there to last you for over 10 to 12 sets of Epson cartridges, maybe more. And there again, you can follow right through. We show you how to fill the bottles. Show you how to prime up the system should you run the bottles empty. How to fix the print head should you have a problem with your print head losing colors. And this just shows you how to put the safety catch on. Between the video and this should help you out, get it installed. Finalizing, I want to point this out. I always install the firmware or the software from the disk. I don't let it download it. If you can, unplug your computer so it doesn't do an automatic update. Now, a lot of times that'll happen. All you want to do is install what's on that disk. You don't need any firmware updates or software updates. Now it's still initializing. Okay, now it's done. Now I'll put some paper in it and we'll make a copy. Actually, I'll put paper in and let's do a nozzle check. See what the nozzles look like. Okay, I have the paper in and I'm going to go over to Setup. Say OK. Look at the ink levels. They're full. Okay. So there's where you can change out the cartridges if there's Epson cartridges in there. I'll go back. Go to maintenance. There's where you do all your nozzle checks, head alignment, ink cartridge replacement again. So I'm going to go do a nozzle check. I've got the paper in there. Hit print. Now you can watch. I'm going to leave the lid open so you can watch what's going to happen. It's going to go into printing. There it goes. Okay, very first one out. Perfect. That's what you want. This Ultra Pro True Color ink that we have is American made. It's just the best. Now this is a dye-based ink. This printer comes with pigment ink in their cartridges. But this is more economical, better for the home, better for small offices because it's for people that don't print heavy or they don't need it waterproof. That's what the pigment ink is. Trouble with pigment ink, sometimes if you don't use it, it wants to settle out. Okay, now I can close the lid, push it down. Now I can open this up. I'm going to get something to make a copy of. Add in a magazine. I'll put it in. Close the lid. And I want to get out of this, so I hit home. Backwards. Sorry, I have to hit finish first. There it is. Okay, now let's go over to copy. Say okay. Oops, hit the wrong thing. Sorry. I picked photo. Copy. Okay, one copy. I'm going to leave it on color, and I'm just going to hit the print. Normally, I set it for better quality because I find that the print head lasts a lot longer. There again, I'm going to open up the lid real quick so you can see it go back and forth. I'll let it ring because I want to show you this. This is the very first copy out. Look at that. Perfect. Didn't touch anything. That's why I said this system that we're offering is the best for your money. The printer cost me $44. Thing in the top. I'm going to go OK. Then I could set it up the way I want it or just hit copy. Hit the start. And then you'll see it come through. This printer's only $44. Then you put the rocket bottle ink tank system on it, and you're printing for a couple of pennies. You don't have to spend $400 for Epson's fancy printer that, by the way, we got them for testing. They're not so great. I think this little printer is much better. Look at the quality of this. And I didn't touch anything. That's the Ultra Pro True Color dye-based ink. Now we also make it an executive series with pigment ink if you should want it. Now I can close the top and I'm done. There we go. Take the little thing out. So now if you got printing to do or if you got kids at home, this is the best thing. Go to inkproducts.com. American built, American made ink, the best quality you can spend your money on.